What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Igloo of Cinema. If you do not know what the show is about, the show is about me reviewing movies and maybe TV shows, but mostly movies. I don't know where I was going with that intro, but in this episode, we are going to be reviewing Star Trek Into Darkness, the sequel to J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot, Star Trek. Let me just start off by saying this movie exceeded all expectations. You know, after Iron Man 3 and a few other movies this year, I have been pretty disappointed with a lot of them. However, this one, I finally got what I wanted. Star Trek Into Darkness is incredible. Everything I expected. And I'm not even a hardcore Star Trek fan, and that's something I have to stress. I've never seen any Star Trek episode, never seen any of the old movies, and, you know, the first time I watched the 2009 Star Trek reboot, I got hooked. J.J. Abrams did an amazing job bringing in a whole new fan base, whole new audience, and also satisfying a lot of the fans that were fans of the old movies and the old TV show. He basically brought in both sides of the audience and, you know, created an amazing movie. And now, the sequel, he does it again. Now let's start off with the characters. Chris Pine is back as Kirk, the captain of the starship, and in this movie, he's tested a bit more. I mean, in the beginning of the movie where he attempts to save a planet from a volcanic eruption, and then he endangers his crew, reviews the Enterprise to a very uncivilized civilization, or undeveloped civilization, my bad. And he pretty much violated all the codes of conduct, everything that you're supposed to do, he doesn't do, and his captain status gets revoked. However, when a mysterious man named Harrison bombs a secret Section 31 installation in London, you know, he has to once again prove himself to everyone that he is capable of this position, and he needs to take responsibility, and he can take responsibility for his crew. And that was one of the main things about his character in this movie. You know, the Pike questioned him. He's like, you don't take responsibility. You don't care about the business of the chair. And this movie, Kirk has to prove himself and, you know, finally having to take responsibility for his actions, responsibilities for his reckless behavior. And for once in his lifetime, he doesn't know what to do. He's backed up into this corner by this Harrison character, and he's stuck. And that's what I really like about his character in this movie. In the beginning of the movie, he's this really confident, well-built character, but then as the movie progresses, that starts to break down. As he starts being tested, as he has the need to prove himself, and then finding out that it's not as easy as he thought he was. He doesn't know what to do, and he's just really frustrated. But the only thing he knows is true is he has to protect his crew. And that's what's really noble about Kirk in this movie, and I really commend that. And I think Chris Pine really does an amazing job portraying that character. Now, another character I have to talk about is Spock, played by Zachary Quinto. Now, Spock is an interesting character because he has no emotion. So there's a lot of room for very, you know, undeveloped characterization. You could argue that there isn't really much to go with there. But Zachary plays Spock as this really, you know, conflicted character, I think, because his planet exploded, and he vowed never to feel that emotion he felt when his planet exploded. However, you know, when his girlfriend questions him, saying, "Oh, you just selflessly sacrificed yourself in that volcano at the beginning of the movie, without even thinking about me, without even thinking about, did you even think about, you know, being scared of dying?" And Spock reviews the fact that, yes, I have, but I'm purposely suppressing those emotions because he doesn't want to feel them. But as the movie progresses, that thing is tested. You know, Spock realizes that sometimes you have to let out emotions. Sometimes there's no choice and you have to do it. And sometimes playing by the rules specifically isn't always the way to go. And throughout the whole movie, Kirk and Spock are butting heads. You know, Kirk is the one who's always reckless, never plays by the rules, and Spock always plays by the rules, and they have to meet halfway. And in order to defeat Harrison, they have to, you know, compromise and use some of the reckless behavior that Kirk does, and use some of the rule-abiding characteristics as Spock does. And there's a scene in this movie where that actually happens, and they switch, and it's an interesting kind of thing in the movie that J.J. Abrams plays around with, and I really like that. So Spock is a very awesome character. So another character I have to talk about is obviously Benedict Cumberbatch's character Harrison, who is the villain of this movie, and is revealed soon after that he is someone else. And I don't want to get into any spoilers here, so I'm not going to reveal it, but a lot of you probably already know. Even if you haven't seen the movie yet, there have been rumors coming around, and those rumors are in fact true. Now, I'm not going to say it here. Go find it by yourself if you were really interested. But yes, that's true, and he's the villain, and Cumberbatch plays his Harrison character very interestingly because he's so creepy, and he's so, he always plays everything with a straight face, never loses his cool, besides certain moments near the end of the movie. But when you first meet him, he never loses his cool. He's always collected. He always seems like he has something planned, and you just can't tell because his facial expression's stone. It's not moving. There's no expression, and you might think that that's not acting. Well, it is, because despite his face being very emotionless, you can feel the creepiness, the evilness, I guess, the menacing aura around him. It's really hard to explain, but Cumberbatch plays that really well. And the way he talks, the way he moves his mouth, it's a really distinct kind of characterization, I guess, of this character. And it's damn, I could not predict what he was gonna do. Is he gonna fucking kill Kirk? Is he gonna blow up the starship? What is this? And it also revealed that he's not just a villain. He's not just a one-dimensional villain. He has been tested before. He has his morals, and he's not just doing things because he's evil. He's doing things because he has a motive that's not just because he's a bad guy and wants to destroy everything. Starfleet has, messed with him before. They've used him. It's not just black and white here. There's many gray areas that, Harrison is a part of, and he's not just a bad guy. And that's what I really liked about this character, because he's not just a stereotypical villain. He has, he has a story behind him. He's not just you feel for him. And you really sympathize with him at some points of the movie, even though, there's some stuff that he does that, obviously you can't get behind, but, there are some moments where you're like, oh yeah, damn, that sucks, and I feel for you, dude, and yeah, I kind of understand what you were doing, although the stuff you were doing is still pretty fucking bad, but overall, the characters are great. The returning characters are fine. Everyone in the Starfleet is great. Simon Pegg played by Scotty. He's great. Everyone just comes back full force and is excellent. So finally, let's talk about the story. Now, I love the story for this movie, and what I really like about J.J. Abrams' Star Trek universe is he takes a lot of stuff from the old series, from the old movies, and he respects that material, and he takes elements of it, but he also does his own kind of twist to it. He changes it to fit what he wants, and he kind of makes it more unique and isn't just the carbon copy of, past Star Trek storylines. Although there are similar elements of them, he incorporates something new to it. And that's what he does with this movie, because this movie's heavily based on a specific Star Trek movie from a long time ago. I'm not going to name which one, because that would just reveal everything, and that's a spoiler. But it's heavily based on one of the original movies. And what I like about it is he doesn't just copy every part of that storyline from that movie. He takes it and then turns it around, and it completely threw me off, because I thought I knew exactly what was going on, because I was like, oh, it's based on that storyline. He's probably going to do this. But instead of doing this, he does that. But it's a similar kind of, story. It's just that it's kind of different, and he kind of changes it a bit. It's hard to explain. If you haven't seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's crazy, and I just love the way he did that. But also, there's a lot of tension in this movie. There are a lot of scenes where oh shit, it's nail biting. It's intense. The CGI is great. It's fantastic. The character interaction between Kirk and Spock is spot on. You really feel the friendship, their chemistry together. It's amazing. They go back and forth on each other. They argue. Kirk tries to teach Spock about feelings, about, if someone saves your life, you don't rat them out. You don't stab them in the back. Vice versa and stuff. And Kirk learns from Spock because, you can't always be so reckless. You gotta follow the rules sometimes. So I really like that. And overall, the story is great. If you're really into Star Trek, I think you're going to be satisfied. And if you're not, this movie's still able to capture your attention. Because, like I said, I'm not a really big Star Trek fan, but it really caught my eye. Even if you've never seen the original ones, that doesn't really matter. Because it's not, you don't have to know the storyline from the other ones to really understand this one. And the only other gripes I have with this movie is some of the action scenes could have been more clear, and, it was really hard to see sometimes. And another thing is, there are a few plot holes here and there that can be forgiven, and they're really minor. So it's kind of nitpicky, but they're there, and that's what keeps it from being a perfect movie. But other than that, it's a fantastic movie, and I really love it. So overall, Star Trek Into Darkness is a great movie. J.J. Abrams once again outdoes himself, whatever. But he does an amazing job. I would argue that this is better than the first one. It's arguable, but it's a great movie. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're definitely going to like this. It takes a lot of liberties with the source material, but also takes really similar elements and really respects the source material, but also puts a little twist on it. And if you're not a Star Trek fan, it doesn't really matter because you're still going to get into this movie. It's very accessible across the board, and you don't have to know anything about Star Trek to get this movie because he treats it like you've never seen a Star Trek movie before. And that still works for the fans because it's a different dimension, and he plays with the storyline from the original, and like I said again, puts a little twist on it. So accessible both ways, and I think it will please both sides. So yeah, let's give it a score. This movie is going to be a 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, like I said again. There are some action scenes that could have been more clear, and there are a few plots that really just keep it from being perfect, but they're very minor and they're very forgettable. And it doesn't really affect the movie that much. So yeah, watch it. So that's it for this episode of the Igloo Cinema. If you watch Star Trek Into Darkness, please give your comment down below. Tell me what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you a fan of Star Trek? Did you hate this movie? Did you really think, J.J. Abrams really respected the Star Trek franchise and story and did an excellent job? If you weren't a Star Trek fan, did you get into it? Were you confused? Tell me down below. I'm very curious. Give your opinion. And that's it. If you like this video, I really encourage you to like it. If you like it even more, please favorite it. If you like it even more, please share it. Subscribe to our channel for updated content. Also subscribe to our personal channels. We have other shit there too. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next Black Couch, Trailer Box, Igloo Cinema, what have you. I'll see you guys later.